I need to be very relaxed when I talk about this particular issue that faces some children in Jamaica. It's a terrible thing. Children in Jamaica are experiencing sexual abuse. There is a certain group of men in Jamaica, and it's nothing new, who have a fascination with children. And I'm not sure if they're just impotent, or I'm not sure what the issue is, and I really don't care to try to find out what is going on in these grown men's head. I don't care what is their issue. I know that they should be imprisoned, and they should be imprisoned for a long time. The problem with sexual abuse in Jamaica is a big one, and it has gone on for years, and now I'm happy to say that it's being taken seriously. But it has not changed the fact that more children are being abused. And unfortunately, it isn't just by strangers, it's usually by people that they know: step parents, a stepfather, a godfather, a neighbor, an uncle, family members. It's appalling. The reason why I'm doing this video is because I remember a young man named Steven. And I call his name because he's not someone who's from my community, and he's not from the community, the school where we went. So it'd be very difficult for anyone to really figure out who this young man was. But he opened up to me, and he broke my heart. At 11 years old, he was sexually molested by several neighbors. And he kept this secret with him because he knew if he shared it, he was going to be blamed. I have spoken to another 11-year-old girl who was being molested by her godfather. She lived with her godfather. Her mother took the 11-year-old daughter and sent to live with the godfather, and he was abusing her at 11 years old. At first, she didn't tell me the details. She didn't tell me. She just said some bad things was happening to her at home, and I eventually got her to open up. And she only did so after she wrote me a letter saying she was going to kill herself, and I had to tell her, if you do not tell me what is going on, I'm going to have to call the police. And she opened up to me that her mom sent her to live with her godfather, and he was having sex with her, and he's 25-year-old. I reported it to the guidance council, and she sent a call out to the girl's mother. I also called the girl's mother, and she never came. She said she was busy with work and she couldn't come, and it was out of my hands. I reported it to the guidance counselor, and left it for them to take care of. And my only regret is that I didn't call the police. I should have. Nothing was really done. A year later, I heard that she got pregnant and had a baby, and I know it was as a result of the individual she was living with. She's just one of many young girls. I had students in grade 10 that told me their mother gave them to some older man since they were 15 years old, having sex on a regular basis and bringing the money home to their parents. These are things that are happening, and I'm hoping that the teachers realize that they have a big responsibility, not just to carry out the instruction of the kids' education, but also to keep a keen eye and look out for the kids' mental health, their psychological well being, because they really need help in that area. One of the things that Stephen told me was that he wasn't able to confide in anyone at school because they would blame him, they would mock him and ridicule him. And he was correct, because he had a teacher who was actually his form teacher, and that teacher abused him on a regular basis. She told him that he was like a gal, and that he shouldn't be wearing boy's uniform. He should be in a dress. And she did everything in her power to have him suspended from school, to the point of telling lies on this child because she didn't like him, because she said he was too feminine, he was like a woman. She never took the time to find out what was going on with him. He told me this man that was molesting him for all these years was a neighbor, and that after a while he started feeling that it was his fault. It was his fault that he was molested, because why else would this man come on to him? Keep in mind, this child is 11 years old. It's a big problem. And when girls are raped, I hear adults say it's their fault, that they're too flighty, or they say it's a lie. So these young girls are afraid to come forward and tell the truth, because if they're not called liars, then they're blamed. I'm very happy to know that the government is doing something about it. There are organizations or agencies that are there to protect interests of young people, but more needs to be done. And the culture of silence as far as domestic and sexual abuses, it needs to stop. I remember an incident where in the middle of the day, a man was caught having sex with a young girl right in the middle of the town. And someone called the police. He escaped. And I remember being in a public transportation and hearing this man saying how terrible he felt about what he heard. And as he continued the conversation, I thought, that's good. I'm happy that people are appalled that this is going on. And he said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I feel so bad. Why did the man take her to the town? Why didn't he take her to the bushes? He felt sorry for the rapists. And he didn't feel sorry for the little girl. He felt sorry that the man was caught. And this was an older man. I remember bringing my daughter at 10 years old to Jamaica and having an older man who was, when I say older, he was a grandfather type, telling me that I should give him my daughter and he'll marry her and take care of her. My 10-year-old, and I said, excuse me, this is a child. He says, it doesn't matter, I'll take care of her. There's a big problem with sexual abuse in Jamaica. Mothers support it in exchange for money. They put their children out to older men to make money so that they can take care of their family. This is not her problem. If you're suffering and you have no other means of supporting yourself, go and sell your own self. Do not take away this child's innocence. It's not her fault, or it's not his fault that you're poor and suffering. But if this was happening in rich communities, what do you think would happen? But because it's happening in poor communities, it is not getting the publicity, it's not getting the attention that it needs. Stephen broke my heart so many times with some of the things that he confided in me and told me. And the worst part of it is to endure those things in private or privacy, and to come to school where you're escaping that, and to be abused at school is just an abomination. It really is. And that young man, Stephen, was abused by his own form teacher, calling these names and allowing other kids to call him names. And she did all that she could to get him suspended. And the moment he returned, she insisted that she was going to continue. I had to report her. I had to come to his defense. Something had to be done, because everyone kept saying all kinds of things about Stephen, and they did not know him, and they didn't know the pain and the agony he was going through. And he lived with a woman who hated him. The same person that took him in to protect him, she also was abusing him. And when she was called at the school to speak about the situation with the young man, she never came. She said that he was nobody and that she would not waste her energy and her time to go to speak to his teacher about him. And when I would show him kindness and look out for him, she would sometimes ask him, "Who are you that anyone should care about you?" This is why there's so much violence in Jamaica, because young boys and girls are abused on a regular basis and they're hurting inside, and sometimes they unleash their anger on themselves or other people. They become self-destructive. If you're listening and you care about Jamaica, please do something about it. Kids are having a hard time. They're suffering, verbal, physical, but sexual abused a lot. And I want it to stop. I really want it to stop. Stephen, wherever you are in the world, I love you. You were a beautiful boy, and I know you are a beautiful young man now. And you were very talented. You could sing like no other. You were so funny. You were just a wonderful person to be around. You blessed me with your presence, and you broke my heart with your stories. But I have always thought of you, always loved you, and I hope one day you'll be doing great things with your life. Great things. And just know that you're not a product of your environment. That the things that happened to you were not your fault. And that one day you'll overcome. You will overcome.